What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV back here for yet another panel show and quite a bit to delve deep into today. We have got returning guests Ash Matic and David Harris back on the panel. Ash, how are we doing today?
Yes, man, I'm good, man. It's a pleasure to be here. Big yourselves up, boys. Good to see you both in. I haven't seen you in a while, Ben. Congratulations.
Thank you, mate.
I know how it is right now. Sleepless nights, but it's all worth it. Trust me.
Yeah, I'm just lagging a couple months behind you, aren't I?
Yeah, you're not far. You're not far, man. We'll be trading trips soon.
Yeah.
Big up to everyone in the chat as well and people watching at home. Thanks for having me, guys, once again.
Big up to you. David Harris back on the panel. How are we doing, brother?
Big up to you, boys. Big up to Ash and the We Are Tottenham TV chat. Hopefully you guys are all keeping well. Yeah, I'm all right, Benji. A bit deflated after the weekend. But look, you know, busy week ahead at Tottenham, so we have to move on.
Exactly.
Nothing can keep the flat cap army too down. Sure.
And as Big Ange says, we never stop. But I think it's a good place to start that Man City game. And it was a poor performance. We got dominated by the better side. Got to say that. But Ash, do you think that was Spurs bad against Man City? I mean, was it that bad?
I think Man City did a number on us, man. They did that high press. They know we like to play out from the back. And it kind of interrupted our rhythm, our flow in terms of like passing out the back. I think that's what they knew Bentancur was going to be the main guy that we're going to look for in terms of like creating from deep, starting the attack, being that first phase of attack. Like that's really where they kind of hit us really hard. And then after him, it was Porro. And then I think Kulusevski couldn't really get a foothold in the game either. And so a lot of people were like, oh, you know, Werner was free. Why didn't we get it to him? We did try. But as I said before, I think City just smothered us. And they did it so well that they pinned us back in our own half. And we didn't really see much of the ball. We couldn't really get an attacking move together, in my opinion. So it doesn't help when the front three, I've been saying this pretty much all season. You know, our goalkeeper, really good. Defense, superb. The midfield options are there to be seen. But when it comes to that front three, something is just not right. There's something not quite clicking with that front three. But yeah, I think that's what it was, really. And it just was down to our... I can't say, Ange, you know, you should have done this, you should have done that. We've got a few players missing in the AFCON. Everyone's like, oh, we're tired of the excuses, man. We should... But this is Man City. This is Manchester City. This is the best team, not in the UK, not just in Europe, but in the world as well. So I'm not too mad. I think the reason why people are more upset is because they didn't feel like we had a goal. But like, it's just one of those days. I expect us against another team to turn it on. Like, do you know what I'm saying? For Bentancur just to be on it. Even when Maddison came on, he wasn't in the game at all. Do you know what I'm saying? So that says a lot. But yeah, man, it is what it is. You can't win them all. And it's a shame it had to come at the cost of a cup. I think that's why people are more upset. And I feel it because it's 16 years of hurt. We need our own anthem for that, you know. 16 years of hurt. Still trying to believe, bro. It's not easy, bro. Being a Spurs fan, you know, it just PTSD and we need medication. There should be like little pills on the seat that you take after each game. Like, you know, your high blood pressure, your mental health and whatnot. But brother, it is what it is, man. It is what it is.
But you know, you look at it like, yes, it's Man City. Yes, the best team in Europe, the best team in the world at the moment. But they haven't scored a goal in Tottenham since what, 2015, 2016, around that period. What was the difference in this game as opposed to any other game we played against Man City? Because the last couple of years, even earlier on the season at the Etihad, going there with Emerson Royale and Ben Davies at the back, we seemed to create chances at will, especially in that second half. So what was the difference for you, David, in this Man City game as opposed to maybe previous ones?
World-class forwards. for me, is the difference. In previous games, you've had Kane and Son, who's been able to carry you. Even earlier on in the season, we had Son. And what they do is, because they're so good on the ball, they're able to keep the ball, get us up the field and relieve a little bit of pressure and help play in Man City's half for a little while. But ultimately, they also have the cutting edge to be able to put Man City to the sword and be able to take them opportunities. And other players like Kulu and that have benefited from it in games gone by and stuff like that. But for me, I think that was our biggest problem. We were absolutely toothless going forward. I think defensively we were fine. Look, Vicario, I'm not going to get on his back. I don't personally think it was a foul. I thought he should have just done better. Thought he needed to man up, come through the player if you have to at the end of the short 6-yard box. Should never get done like that. However, I'm not going to berate him on it. It's the first mistake the guy's made all season, and unfortunately, it's just at the wrong time. Defence, I'm absolutely fine with. They kept us in that game for the large majority. The midfield, I'm fine. Look, Papa Matsar is a huge loss. We don't have anybody else that can turn over the ball the way he does, or gets around the way he does, and gets up and forward the way he does, and also protect Porro the way he does. So he's an absolute huge loss in that regard. But you've got him and Basuma coming back, and Maddison coming back from injury. So I'm not too concerned there. But my biggest problem since the summer has been that forward line. You know, who's going to replace Harry Kane's goals? Who's going to score them? We're struggling to replace them. But not only that, his hold-up play, how he sets up other players, we're also missing that. And we're more reliant on Son now than what we've ever been before. We're more of a one-team man now than what we've ever been before. The problem in that game is anytime the ball went up towards Brennan Johnson or Werner, or even Richarlison, even though I thought he done what he could in terms of hold-up play and stuff like that, it just came straight back. They couldn't hold it up. They couldn't get us up the field whatsoever. You look at Brennan Johnson, I think he lost nearly all of his duels. You know, absolutely shocking. So that's the biggest difference. We just don't have world-class attackers in this team, unfortunately. And if you don't have Son, you don't have an attack. And look, this has been coming. We struggled against Brentford. You know, they've been conceding goals all season long. West Ham before that, you know, not so long before that, struggled again. Man United struggled to take our chances in that game. And that's the biggest difference for me. You look at Ange Postecoglou and what he's brought so far. His tactics is effective. It's effective against the big six, you know, especially it does bring results, bar that Man City game. It allows us to play football the way we want to, sitting in opposition's half. But we don't have that deadly strike force to kill it off. And it's a shame, really, because when you look at it, we've had a lot of defensive managers over the last few years, but the best attack that one of the best attacks we've ever had at Tottenham. Now we've got one of the best attacking managers that we've ever seen at Tottenham Hotspur, and we've got one of the worst attacks. So it's sort of like flip the script a little until we get that sorted out. And the only way is money. We can sit here and go, if Werner does this, if Brennan Johnson comes good, we've been here before, lads, with players like that. At the end of the day, the only way of sorting this out is by going and banging out some big money around, because they're the difference. Once you've got all the rest of the pieces of the puzzle in place, they are the difference. They're the ones that can get you over the line in these games. And unfortunately, that's what let us down against Man City.
Sim, do you agree? I mean, and also, do you think that performance was worrying? Was it worrying you?
Was it a worrying performance? Possibly. I would say I was slightly worried about it because in the last few performances, apart from maybe Man United, even including Man United, last few games we have really struggled to create chances, and this one was that was like turned up to like 100 because we had one shot the whole game. And I don't care what kind of team, what kind of Man City team we're playing, and what kind of players we have in the forward line. One shot at home against Man City is not good enough, and I think we can all agree on that. I know Man City played brilliant. I think we can all agree Man City came to our ground, dominated the ball. I thought the way they kept the ball was amazing. I thought we really struggled to get the ball off them as well. Their high press really suffocated us. We were able to play through it on a couple of occasions, but more often than not, Man City were just able to get the ball back immediately. And so you're playing the best team in the world. Let's be honest. They're the best team in the world right now. They won the treble last season. They're still doing pretty good. They're still in the main competitions this season. They've improved as well on some other players. So this is a team who've had a manager for how long now? 8 years? 8 years Pep Guardiola's been at the helm. Everyone is so fine-tuned. Everyone knows exactly what they're doing. They've been doing it for years. So to expect us to dominate them or things like that, I think obviously that's never going to happen. But what I do expect is at least cause them some problems. At least have a spell in the game where you're getting in behind, where you're creating some chances, where you're finding some sort of solutions. One thing I have seen this season for Tottenham is there have been games where we've been dominated and we've been the second best, like Arsenal away. I remember Man United at home. We started those games not as good, and we started those games second best, and we were the worst team. We were second best on those days, and yet what we did was we grew into the game and found solutions to get past those teams, and found solutions to get back in the game and start to hit them the other way. It never really happened in this game, and that was a bit worrying. And maybe there are reasons for that in terms of Maddison wasn't fully fit, wasn't fully back, still missing players at the AFCON, but also, I think a big thing was you looked at the bench, apart from obviously Maddison, who wasn't maybe 100% fit, you didn't really have any players to come on and give you that extra of energy in the last half an hour or so to give you that second wind, maybe. But it was a bit concerning how we just didn't threaten them at all. I think if you have like 3 or 4 chances and you don't take them, and then they go and win the game and they dominate, I think you can just accept that. But I obviously accept the result, but it was very disappointing that how little of effect we had on the game. But sometimes you do have to give credit to Man City and to the better team, because they are a better team than us. They showed that on the day. Their football completely suffocated us. They kept the ball away from us for the whole game. They dominated us. They out-footballed us, which hasn't happened too often to Spurs this season. So I think it's more credit to Man City than it is criticism on Tottenham, I would say, at the end of the game. But I don't think you can come away from a game, in any game, with one shot on goal and not be a little concerned about it.
I think it was a consequence of the history of this football match, especially in Tottenham. Pep Guardiola said at the beginning of the season, didn't he? His one thing that he wanted to do this season was to score at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. We've had their number every single year, pretty much, especially at home. I did think that maybe it was a consequence of that, of Pep Guardiola just drilling into their squad. They cannot lose this game. They have to dominate this game. They can't give Tottenham any chances. And I think that's exactly what they did. Man City came to spoil Ange Postecoglou and Tottenham's party, especially against Man City. And they put in a masterclass of keeping the ball. They just kept the ball throughout the whole game. We could not get it off them. The small moments that we did get it off them, we couldn't supply it to the front line. I saw so many runs, so many good runs, especially from Timo Werner in that first half, and we just weren't finding him. When Brennan Johnson was getting on the ball, I thought he was getting dispossessed more or less every single time. He failed to threaten going on the outside. So I agree that we lost that X factor in Heung-min Son, and if Heung-min Son was there that game, then maybe it could have been a different outcome, and Pape Matar maybe being that energy in the middle of the park. But I just felt like Man City just did a complete number on us, and it was so hard for us just to even get a foothold on the ball, never mind get a foothold in the game and start to threaten Man City. But Ash, were you worried looking at that, or do you think it was just a consequence of really key players being out on the day and Man City playing to the best of their abilities?
I am slightly worried, because I just think the movement of the front three and sometimes the timing of the passes was a little bit off. Sometimes, like you said, Werner was on, and then we're too slow to pass, he'll go offside. And then sometimes I saw Johnson and Richarlison running a little bit too early, so then that pass wasn't always on. So then he had to go through and pass it into another player. Now, my critique of Richarlison, even though he's on a hot streak at the moment, little purple patch, is that sometimes he just runs to the byline or into the 6-yard box. I would like to see him peel off, maybe, slow his run down, go to the penalty spot, and then that can create another angle for one of our wingers when they get to the byline, and they can do little cutbacks. Because I haven't seen a little cutback in a while. That's one thing I used to really like about the Ange system, is that the wingers are able to do that. And then equally, when we're on the byline, I want to see more players flood the box so we take more risks going forward. On the ball, it just wasn't quite clicking, as I said before. So I do have a glimmer of hope that the quality of passes and the actual final ball wouldn't be so predictable at times, because a lot of those balls were being blocked, couldn't get past the first man at times. Even Porro, I was like, Porro was really good at crossing, but that game, it wasn't coming off for him. There was one ball he did put in, and then, it came to nothing, unfortunately. But I just felt like in that first half especially, we were rushing it. I don't know why. We're like boom, 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 boom. And that's where we lost possession a lot of the times. And I was like, slow down, my guys, slow down. Because if you slow down just a little bit and just have 2 or 3 passes, we can control the game a bit more. And I just felt like we were going too gun-ho too soon. They read that, and we just kept losing possession in our own half. And that's what created them a lot of chances, if that makes sense. So, like, for me, it's just, guys, take your time, breathe, and let's start looking at different solutions and different options, like in terms of building out from the back. I saw one time Udogie tried to jump in when I think it was either Van der Ven or Romero was on the ball. And you know, when Vicario passes out from the back, sometimes what happened was Udogie ran into that kind of number 6 role. So then that was another out ball. But they were wise. They were doing like a real physical man-to-man press. And sometimes we took too many touches, and that's the reason why we lost it. But I agree with David's point. In terms of our wingers, the wingers sometimes need to be able to get on the ball and then just carry up the pitch, if that makes sense. So we need that quality in that position. If you haven't got a player that can carry up the pitch, Kulu's the only one that can carry it, or Udogie, I'd say. But at certain times, if they're not able to do it, and your wingers you're relying on, they can't carry up the pitch, then we haven't really got a way to kind of bring it out. But that's just that game in isolation, in my opinion.
David, I mean, you criticise the front three. In terms of Brennan Johnson, he's come under a lot of criticism over the past couple of weeks. Do you feel that, you know, he needs a bit of time out of the team and someone else needs to step up, or do you feel like we just need to keep persisting with him?
Look, I'll get on to Brennan Johnson in a minute, because it's sort of it's a point that I'm going to make off the back of a point. Look, personally, I actually think Man City outworked us in that game, and I think that's what 100%. It came down to, especially out of possession. Look how quick they were to push everyone up, make sure everyone had a man so there was no outballs. We weren't doing that, and we haven't done it since the first 10 games of the season, so our press has been non-effective. And that gets me on to my wider point. With Brennan Johnson, just a couple of match stats from him from the game. Completed 0% of his crosses, completed just 50% of his passes, won 0 of his 3 duels. And he got dribbled past once, gave away possession 13 times, and missed Spurs' only big chance sort of the game. So that goes to show, you know, how poor he really was on the night. The problem that I think Brennan Johnson has got is, and I think it's a problem with the whole front three right now, is they all need to be provided with chances. They're not guys you look at that go, yeah, he can create. Werner can't do it. Richarlison can't do it. Johnson can't do it. They're guys that need to be put through to use their pace, to give them time to be able to bury the ball in the back of the net. They're not creators. None of them are. And that's our big problem. But in terms of Brennan Johnson, I get that many fans are losing patience with him. I'm one of them myself personally. But I don't put the blame entirely on him. Now, the reason why I say that is because usually when you bring in a player of his age and his ability that's making that step up, usually you dip them in and out until they learn to bring that sort of consistency. Sir Alex Ferguson used to do it a lot at Man United. Start them, take them out, bring them off the bench in some games and stuff like that, and get them used to it that way. We haven't had that option with Brennan Johnson. But saying that, a new signing coming to a football club, you couldn't wish for a better opportunity in a run of games to be able to make your mark on the team and show that, yeah, you were right to come and sign me. When I look at Brennan Johnson, in possession, I don't think he's got it. The end product is not there. He's been in so many good positions so far this season over the run of games he's had, and he's failed to deliver the majority of the season. He's even been in good goal scoring opportunities, and a lot of his efforts have sort of been lackluster. But with Brennan Johnson as well, I look at someone like Richarlison. Even if he's not having a bad game, he still works very hard for the team. He still mucks in and does a lot of the dog work. Brennan Johnson does not want to do that. You look at go back and look at the Man City performance. There's a couple of times he had the opportunity to track his man back and help others behind him. Chose not to do it. Just let the runner go. Always lay on the press as well. I was screaming my head off. Richarlison's pressing the goalkeeper. There's one obvious out ball here to the right hand side. Just go. And he won't go. He's standing off. He's waiting till the ball gets to him, and then he goes. And it's really, really annoying. For me, I don't think he has the ability right now to be able to play at a top 6. I'm not going to write him off just yet. However, I do think there's a lot of excuses made for the guy personally. It's okay to criticize him, to critique him. So he has to know where he needs to get better. And you can only do that by critiquing the player. And for me, I want to see him drop this weekend. I don't care whether it's Kulu going back out to the right, or I don't care if it's bringing in Brian Hill, who I believe's got a rough ride. He's never got the run of opportunity of games that Brennan Johnson has got. Why isn't he being given the game if Brennan Johnson is not up to it? Brennan Johnson is way too timid. He's a nice guy and he's got time on his side. But he needs to improve dramatically, because at the end of the day, where we're going, we don't have time to be waiting around 6 months to a year anymore on players to come here and perform. You either come here, you hit the ground running, or you're out. If you want to be the likes of Man City, you don't have time to waste on these. They signed Calvin Phillips, not working out. Look how quickly they got him out of the football club. We need to start doing the same.
It was 18 months it took him.
Still, how long do we hold on to players?
No, fair enough.
But I think what backs up your claim as well, I think Pedro Porro was shouting and screaming at Brennan Johnson a lot to come help him track back, stay with your man, track your man. And I'm not as harsh on Brennan Johnson as maybe you are. I still think he's got something about him, and I think he can improve in a Spurs shirt. But I do agree. I think he should come out the team for a game or two and see if it does work. Push Kulu back onto the right, maybe stick a Skippy or a Højbjerg back in the middle, and see how we go. But you never know. Pape Sarr could be back for the Everton game if they do go out tonight. I think we're all Ivory Coast fans tonight just to get Pape Sarr back in the team. But another question I have is on Ange Postecoglou, because I'm seeing a lot of kind of heat come his way after the game as well, talking about game management, talking about team selection. I think it's absolutely mental to throw criticism and shade at Ange Postecoglou for that loss. But Sim, what's your reaction to that?
Yeah, I think it's nuts. I don't think he had many options in terms of, first of all, team selection. I don't know what he could have done except for maybe start Maddison. Apart from that, I'm looking at the bench and there is nothing there. Could he have played a back three maybe? Is there an argument there? I mean, it's hard to criticise him for not playing a formation we haven't played all season. So I don't think that's a criticism. Could he have made changes earlier? I mean, maybe.
That's the only slight thing I can think of.
But I don't know if that would have made a difference. I don't know. I don't know how much Maddison had in his legs. I don't know if bringing on Skippy an extra 20 minutes earlier makes a massive difference. I don't think it does. And you got to remember as well, the game I thought really changed when City brought on De Bruyne and Doku on 65 minutes. I thought Man City were on top and were the better team, but we were having a small period at that point where we were, wouldn't say on top, but we're looking like we were getting in the game. And then they bring on De Bruyne and Doku, and then it completely flips. And then he changed it fairly quickly after that. I think about 5 minutes after he brought on Doku and De Bruyne, he changed it. But ultimately, we couldn't arrest the slide of where the game was going once De Bruyne came on, and it seemed like it was only a matter of time before City scored, and they did. So everyone's got to remember they did only score in the 89th minute. It wasn't like a pummeling in terms of it wasn't a big scoreline. Vicario didn't have like save after save to make in this game. I thought we actually did defend pretty well for the most part. I think the biggest disappointment is how we were on the ball, and I guess when you coach a game where you have only one shot, not even one shot on target, one shot total the whole game, a bit of criticism has to come your way because we weren't good. He wasn't good enough to affect the game so that we even created even one chance. You know what I mean? We were so far second best on the ball, and that's got to be disappointing. But as we say, Pep Guardiola and his team have been together for 8-9 years. Postecoglou's had his team, and it's not even his full strength team for 6-7 months. So there's always a chance that there's going to be that kind of gap in the game. And the fact that we haven't seen that gap for the majority of the season, I think it's credit to him that for the majority of the season we've looked like a well-oiled team for a lot of games, and we've had this amount of wins, and we've looked this cohesive. But the fact, the reality is, I expected more of these performances in the first 6 months. I expected us to look more like this for a lot of games, and the fact that we haven't is credit to Ange. So the fact that we have looked like this for a game, 7 months in against the best team in the world, I don't think you can really criticise him too much for that. In my opinion, I think it's a bit ridiculous. But as I say, if you want to say in that particular game, should we have done a bit more? Maybe, but I think the fact that we're out in the cup is where the most frustration comes, because it's our, only avenue, or most realistic avenue for a trophy gone. And
on top of that, a lot of Spurs fans were going into this so confident as well.
Yeah, I thought a lot of people thought it would be a special night. I really hoped there was going to be one of those real special nights under the lights of the Tottenham Stadium where we had Man City come to our home, but we really took the game to them, and it was a really end-to-end battle, a bit of a goal fest, and we come out on top. That's what I was hoping for, but Man City had other ideas, and you got to give them credit. They clearly came to make sure that we were not able to play football, and they succeeded.
Let's move on to the next topic. I mean, you look at these games since the turn of the year. Burnley at home in the FA Cup, 1-0. Had to rely on a Pedro Porro absolute wonder goal in that game in the latter stages. 2-2 against Man United. Yeah, we scored 2 goals, but didn't create bucket loads of chances that game. And then against Man City, where we created little, next to nothing. I mean, is this purely a consequence, Ash, of just how much we miss Heung-min Son and Pape Matar Sarr, or just Heung-min Son?
I think, yes, both Son and Sarr are crucial in the way we play. In terms of Pape Sarr, we saw how important he was when Basuma came back, and he wasn't quite looking quite the same. And then when Sarr came back, all of a sudden, ta-da! Do you know what I mean? Everything starts to look like we're slowly moving in the right direction. I think in terms of, just in Sarr and in particular, the way he defends, he covers Porro. Porro is not going to be screaming at Johnson as much if Sarr's there, because he's able to cover the ground a lot more. I think he's a lot more press resistant. So when Man City are pressing you like that, when Manchester United are trying to press you into a corner, or Burnley are doing what they do, you've got a guy that's able to take that pressure and carry up the field. So sometimes he can pass, sometimes he can thread a ball through, but sometimes he can actually help the attacking third by just taking pressure off 1 or 2 players. And I think that's what you get from a Sarr. Never complains, always hardworking. But for me, the most important attribute of a player like that is his bravery. Where like a Højbjerg and possibly a Skip as well, they might take 1 or 2 seconds to dwell on something. And in this style of football, the way we play so quickly, you can't think for more than a second. You need to be instinctive. And that's what you get with Pape Matar Sarr. Now with Son, you get the experience. You get the total package. You get someone that's clinical in front of goal. You get a leader in Son as well. When he talks to his teammates, he does it in a different way. He's not like your Roy Keanes, or, because everyone's like really, in my opinion, critical on Son and being a captain. Like, he's not shouting, he needs to be pulling their shirt, blah, blah, blah. I don't see him as that. But he leads in his own way. I think it was it Porro or Johnson? I can't remember. One of the players said that, Son, like when he comes into the room, everyone like listens to what he says, because he's actually an important figure. And so that tells me that the dressing room have got his respect. So when you've got a player like that leading the line, telling players what to do, do you know what I'm saying? And like earlier, the start of the season, just getting them in front of the fans, making that little huddle, having their little team talk, that's what you're going to get from Son. Do you know what I mean? And as I said before, there was been times when Kane was injured. Yeah, Kane was injured, out of the team, and Son was the man that stepped up. And again, this season, you're seeing Son step up. And a lot of people look at Sonny and think, nice guy, always smiling, blah, blah, blah. But brother, when you see his dad, everyone was calling him world class. Abby, he ain't no world class, brother. Hey, Son, really, don't get twisted. Son is a bad boy, because I know his father made him do kick-ups. I think I was watching a documentary for like 2 to 3 hours or 4 hours, he was saying. Yeah. I know Son must have been
20 hours of kick-ups.
Bro, I'm telling you, the dad probably made him into a man. I guarantee it, man. And I think underneath all those smiles, you're seeing a cold killer. Do you know what I'm saying? And that's the reason why and that's what we're missing. We're missing someone that I remember that goal he scored against Burnley, like that hat trick, that was sensational. I know it was such a long time ago, but his movement, like sometimes he felt like a false 9. Sometimes he felt like he was leading the line. He knew when to run as well. He knows how to break. And then what kills it, he was doing well in a 9 position. We moved him to the left and he still delivered. How about that? He still delivered. Because I was like, ooh, Son's not really a left winger anymore. Like, he's not really a winger anymore. He just kept everyone quiet. Do you understand? He's the boss. So yes, we are missing a quality player, as Son is, and we are missing Sar's legs and his tenacity and his ability just to kind of just not overthink things, just do things off the cuff. So yeah, I think if we had those two players like moving forward against Man United, the Burnleys, the Cities, I think we do a better job personally. They're really important to how we play. And when you're looking for leaders, those two guys, they turn up, man. And I really like those two players, man, as you can tell.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was evident to see, especially in that Newcastle game when Pape Matar came back, how much we actually missed him, how pivotal he is to this team. And we always do look, in my opinion, a bit disjointed. Never mind Son when Pape Sarr doesn't play. But for you, David, how much are we missing them and how pivotal are they to the team, both of them?
Absolutely huge. I think you look at Pape Matar's stats this season, I think he's missed, 5 games, and we haven't won in all 5 games. So that probably alludes to how important he is in terms of defensively and forward, linking absolutely everybody together. And it's just a work rate of the kid, how humble he is. There's no ego about him. He just goes out there, does what needs to be done. He never looks and goes, "Nah, I'm too good for that," which a lot of players have done at Tottenham in the past few years. So we absolutely miss him in that regard. And look, when it comes to Son, I remember having a debate on here a few weeks ago about why he should be moved out to the left-hand side. And I always maintained it's because of the creativity. He's that guy that we look to far too often to be able to get on the ball and go and make something happen. You even go back to that Nottingham Forest game. Nothing was happening until he started getting on the ball, driving at players, swinging balls into the box. He's the catalyst going forward. He's the only player in that front line that can actually create as well as finish. And look, also to sort of allude how important he is, Postecoglou wouldn't have played him through injury in the early part of the season if he wasn't important to this team in terms of creativity and also finishing, especially in the big games. But look, for me, I think the wider point should be is Tottenham need to do more in the forward area in the transfer market. We shouldn't be so reliant on one player to be able to provide the goals and the assists. I spoke about the last time we were on about the Timo Werner deal. I said financially, no risk at all. But in terms of ambition-wise, it'll come back to cost us. FA Cup is already gone. Man United, he had a couple of good chances as well, didn't take them. So I feel like my sort of concerns around the Timo Werner signing are starting to come true. For me, it's Tottenham just need to realise you can't just rely on one man to do the business. You have to have a plethora of forwards. You look at Man City stock right throughout. You look at Liverpool stock right throughout and on the bench. Same with Man City. They're the teams you want to overcome. You can't be relying on one player over the whole season. You have to have 3 or 4 players that you can rely on that can step up. If one's having an off day, the other one steps in and does it. So for me, yeah, we miss Pape Matar. Yes, we miss Son. But we should not be in this position where we were relying on one attacking player when we've had one of the best attack lines in the Premier League over the last decade. And I argue now we've one of the worst attack lines, in the Premier League right now, and one of our worst attack lines in well over a decade. And the only way of sorting it out is money. We can't be taking punts on players anymore, sort of, especially in that area. Will they come good? Will they not? The whole Werner signing, when everyone was like, if he comes good, and everyone was like, if he doesn't come good. For me, ifs don't wash it anymore. You have to bring in the right players with the right quality for that area. Scoring goals and creating goals is the hardest thing to do in football. It's been the same around the game for so long. Why are we ignoring it? You have to have the right players with the right mentality and the right and the big game mentality, also the elite mentality that want to do it week in, week out. We've got players right now who they shy away from the big occasion. Werner shied away the other night. Johnson shied away the other night. The going got tough and they didn't want to know. We can't have players like that. We have to get back to having one of the best forward lines in the Premier League. We have to. We can't just be relying on one attacker. It always used to be the same with Harry Kane. But what people didn't want to mention, when we didn't have Harry Kane, we had Son. We had one or the other. And when we had both, we were absolutely lethal. Now we've got one. He ain't there. We can't create chances. It's a problem. I'd argue it's been a problem all season. I sort of highlighted it way back in pre-season. The wing situation for me just hasn't looked right all season. You go back all season as well. We haven't created a lot of clear-cut chances this season. Nowhere near it. We created more clear-cut chances under Conte and Jose Mourinho than what we are so far this season. It's just we have been clinical with what we've took. But we need to create more and we need to take more if we want to become that deadly force.
Sim, you agree?
I don't agree that we have one of the worst front lines in the league. I think that's what was said in that statement. But I do agree that Son is being missed for sure. And I do agree with David that I don't even think it's necessarily his clinical edge that we're missing, because we know he's the best finisher in the league. We know how clinical he can be, but what Son has really done this season, which is he's made his game all round. He's really stepped up in the creative department this season. His all round game's been really, really strong. I think when it comes to chances created, he's actually near the top of the league. When it comes to through balls, I think accurate through balls, I think he's first for 80% of his through balls to be accurate. Maybe that's because he doesn't have that many, but still, when he does attempt a through ball, it tends to be accurate. I do think still his best position for me is in the number 9. I've said that, but he has been playing on the wing and doing really well, so I have to give him credit. And I think when it comes to the United game and the Burnley game, I think he was missed massively. Just that quality in the final third that was really lacking. Just not just the ability to finish off chances, but to create good quality chances, to have that interplay in and around the penalty area, which Son has, which I've criticised Son in the past of lacking. It's something that he's really built on this season, and maybe being given the captain's armband, he's just assumed that responsibility of more of a team player rather than just focusing on, I've got to get a good shot off and get in a goal scoring position. It feels like he's really added that team play to his game, and that's definitely something. What I would say is against Man City, I don't know if he would have made a massive difference because we just couldn't get the ball to the front line, and I don't know if him being there changes that, because I just think we lacked we couldn't keep the ball and we lacked any sort of supply to the front three. So I don't know if him playing in that game instead of a Werner or a Johnson or a Richarlison would have made that much of a difference. It might have mean maybe one chance more created or something like that, but I don't think it means we won the game or anything like that. So I wouldn't say on the weekend that was much evidence of us missing him particularly, but I would say against Burnley and Man United definitely. And I think our attacking play just hasn't been anywhere near as incisive since he's come out of the team, and that's been a bit of a worry. Hopefully he comes back soon. We know they're playing tomorrow against Saudi Arabia, so we'll see if he gets through that round. Maybe if they don't, he'll be back in time for Everton. Obviously he definitely is missing the Brentford game. But in terms of our front line overall, I think in terms of numbers, they're not doing that bad. Like Richarlison's on 7 goals, 3 assists. Kulusevski's on 5 goals, 2 assists. Johnson, 1 goal and 4 assists. I mean, he could be doing a bit better in that one. Obviously, Son is definitely carrying the can with 12 goals and 5 assists. But as well, we've been missing Maddison for a long time, who's giving us numbers, 3 goals and 6 assists. So I think our front line definitely needs upgrading. I wouldn't say I wouldn't say when everyone's fit that it's that bad. I think it's still pretty strong. I would say it definitely compares to some of the better teams in terms of quality and depth, especially when everyone's fit. But when we're missing Son, when you do take Son out of that front line, when you look at what's left, it definitely does lack a bit of quality. I have to say that. I think they're good. Like individually, they're good, but when you're looking at a cohesive front three, and you're looking at a cohesive front three with Son not there, you're looking who's going to create the chances, who's going to. But then I think if we had Maddison over the last couple of games, even without Son, I think maybe it would have been different. Maybe we would have had that incisiveness, because when Lo Celso's been stepping up, he's looked quite good, and we have been able to create chances. But again, that's in general when Son's been there. So I don't know. I feel like when you're missing Son and Maddison, maybe it's more of a case with them together. But if you've got one of them there, maybe it's less of an issue.
Go on, David.
Do you know what? Just quickly, I hear the point about Maddison coming back, but he'll provide numbers for himself and probably Richarlison. It still doesn't make up for the fact that Brennan Johnson can't control the ball, link up play, or cross a ball. It still doesn't make up for the fact that Werner's a makeshift winger because he couldn't score goals up front. And he can't cross a ball. He doesn't have that link up play and stuff like that. So it still doesn't solve that issue. The whole thing is, you're supposed to have different pieces of the puzzle. So you should have a Maddison, you should have a Son, and you should have others. You can't just be reliant on, and this is the problem at Tottenham Hotspur. Down the years, we've been so very reliant on just a couple of players to dig us out of the hole every single week. We need to move on from that sort of thinking, and we need to have more options available to us and stop carrying players. They're not good enough. Get them out. I'm bringing the next guys that will be good enough. The front three, scoring goals and assisting goals, the hardest thing to do in football. I think we take it for granted. We did with Harry Kane. Look at the clamour with people that were very okay to let him go without wanting so much as a massive replacement. And now we're all sitting here talking about the creativity. It's been an issue all season. The reason why I campaigned to move Son out to the left-hand side in the first place is because we weren't creating opportunities before that as well. So it just needs to be upgraded. It's that simple. We had the opportunity. We bought Brennan Johnson. Hasn't worked out. We had the opportunity to go again in January. We took a chance on bringing Timo Werner here in on loan with an option to buy if he comes good. Well, we're paying the price for it. We have to take the lessons and go and address it properly this summer.
Yeah, but the reason we were so dependent on players, the way you move on from being so dependent on players is there's one of two ways. Obviously, you can do it by just signing a bunch of new attackers and having more depth, which I think our depth is not too bad, but obviously I'd like a bit more quality in a perfect world. But the way we've been doing it is developing an attacking system, which the system creates chances rather than, relying on individuals to do it like we were last season when, playing very defensive, just get the ball to Kane and he can be a bit of magic. So I think we are trying to do that. And I think, in terms of have we missed Kane's goals, you can argue that, but I think we've probably scored more goals this season without Kane, or maybe similar amount than with Kane last season. So there's evidence there when we have, moved on from it and we have replaced his goals.
But we need to sign players though in the image of Ange Postecoglou. What does he want from his wingers? To get really wide, be one-on-one demons, get the ball in the box for the cutbacks and everything. And I think Richarlison can be there to finish them. I mean, I know for the first half of the season, he couldn't hit a barn door or everything, but since the surgery, he's been putting the ball in the back of the net. The problem for me at the moment is the wide players. They're just not the way Ange Postecoglou wants to play. And if they can be coached into that way, in my belief, like Brennan Johnson, he's still young, can be molded. But in my opinion, that those three positions, Son aside, are the positions that we need to focus on in summer. I don't think it's going to come in January, though.
I agree, and I just want to make this point. I know it was one game, but it's a massive if. That game against Aston Villa, no Maddison. Right, we lost that game, but the way we created without the wing players
for 20 minutes.
For 20 minutes, I hear you, but I was blown away. In my opinion, I thought if we can create that from midfield, do you know what I mean? With a Maddison in that midfield and a Bentancur in that midfield, and possibly a Basuma or Sarr, like we're having arguments of what midfielders we should play. Surely we can create enough from that area to cause teams headaches and problems. And I do understand the system is out wide, get it to the wingers, 1v1. We don't have that at the moment. And that's what you're saying, like Son. Like I'm in that same camp. I want a winger that can beat his man. I want a winger that can go on the outside and the inside, can cut back, that can cross, that can shoot, that has IQ, press resistant, that can carry X, Y, Z, But I'm looking at our strengths and I'm like, wow, the creativity hub, even in terms of our fullbacks, when you look at your doggy does the underlapping runs, but he's that man. When he's ready, he does the cutback. Porro, he can come out wide. When he goes out wide, that final ball is mustard quality.
Yeah.
So it's not like we haven't got any creativity. We're not just relying on the wingers to be 10 out of 10. I think within that system, we can create. And I just feel like this one game in isolation has also made the fan base super hyper. Do you know what I'm saying?
It's not just one game in isolation. Look, the system is working in terms of gets you up until around the edge of the box. But the reality is we're always coming back looking for Porro or one of the midfielders to do something. The system will get you into the final third around the edge of the box, but that's where you need your attacking players. They're attackers for a reason because they have that final pass. They have that sort of end product. How many games have we been camped in around the edge of the box making 5-yard passes around? And the reason why that's happening is because anytime the ball goes out wide, their job is to go and create, and they're not doing it. The system is working fine, but you have to have the right players in the right positions in that system to execute it. And unfortunately, up front, we do not right now. And it's been a problem all season long. The system, the midfields, the defenders, they do their job. They're progressing the ball. But whenever it goes out wide, it's been a massive problem all season. The problem before Sonny went out wide was no one was crossing the ball. But the reason why they weren't crossing the ball is because they can't. They didn't want to be exposed. So the system is working. It all comes down to the caliber of player.
I think it depends.
But we're third in the league for goals scored. You know what I mean? We are scoring goals. It's not like we're massively struggling to score.
Yeah.
Well, look, let's not forget that the Premier League have made a big clamour towards bringing more goals into the game in terms of the penalties, giving the strikers the benefit of the doubt and stuff like that as well.
We've only had one penalty this season, though.
Yeah, okay, that's fair enough. But, you know, we're still sitting fifth right now. We need more goals. That's the reality of it.
I just think it depends on literally every game's different. Like some games where teams low blocked us, that's when we were passing it outside the box and all those short little passes. And I'm like, no, that's when you need to be quick and incisive and we need to speed things up, if that makes sense. But I felt like we were still learning the Ange ball at the time. And I still think we're going through that process. I still think we're learning it. We're not completely there yet. And even in terms of getting rid of players, I didn't expect Ange to get rid of all the players in 2 windows. I thought you might need a few windows to do it. You know what I'm saying? And we might not get all the players we want in 2 windows. I thought maybe next summer. He did say, like, judge me in my second year, not my first year. So me, I'm like, you know what? Not every game's going to be perfect. And like as fans, we do this, we critique, and that's what we're meant to do, you know, because we love the club. This is our club. I'm still like, give this brother time. And I'm not saying anyone on the panel saying they're not giving him time. I'm not saying that. I'm just talking generally. Do you know what I mean? I think it will get better. I think we're all upset because it's been 16 years in a cup and it's been the same. And the bad performances have come in the cup as well, and it does look slightly worrying. Like I agree. Like I do agree. Like when it comes to that final third, I said at the start, it's just not clicking.
Well, I guess that's the great thing about it, right? Because we're all in agreement that it's not exactly clicking too well. Ange Postecoglou 6 months in, we're third in goals scored in the Premier League, and it's not clicking. So imagine once we get these players in the summer, if we can get these players in, how much it will click and how many goals will bloody score then. I mean, that just proves we're on to a good thing, right? Here at Tottenham Hotspur with Ange Postecoglou. But we got something to talk about with Ange Postecoglou because Jurgen Klopp mentioned that he is leaving at the end of the season at Liverpool. Ange Postecoglou has made it known that he is a Liverpool fan. Ash, do you think there is any way that Liverpool can tempt Ange to Anfield this summer?
I said I didn't think they rated him at first. I was batting it away. I was like, nah, they don't rate him. Alonso's there. He's going to be their first choice. I didn't know about the clause in the contract as well with Bayer Leverkusen. But in terms of Ange, that's just
what's the clause? What clause are you talking about?
He's got a clause in his contract to say he can leave to either 2 teams, which would be either Real Madrid or Liverpool.
What, Ange?
No,
not
Alonso.
Bloody hell. You're giving me a heart attack there. I was like, what the hell?
Whoa there, buddy. Slow down. No. So, yeah, that was what I was looking at. And, like, when I spoke to a lot of Liverpool fans, they, like, slow down on the Ange thing. He's not there yet. Do you know what I mean? He hasn't won anything. He's not proven, blah, blah, blah. Let him have a season. Let him win something. And then we'll look at Ange. Do you know what I mean? So I got that energy from the fans thinking, all right, cool. If the fans who the lifeblood of the club are talking like, you know, calm down with Ange, then I'm thinking maybe the board members are like, maybe they want someone with a bit more. If they're going to go for a project, someone that has been at the club before would make sense. That's why I said Alonso. But also, if they do want someone with a bit more credentials and it's not a project, they want to kind of move on from where the club is now because it's not in a bad position, then they might go for a proven winner. I don't know. Do you know what I'm saying? Ange did come out and say it. Like I used to like Liverpool back in the day. I used to like the way they played. You know what I mean? I was a fan. But I think he's a man of integrity first. He comes across as like a dad, an uncle. When it was that kind of Christmas period or that winter period, sorry, he said to the players, I just want you to go home and see your families. So that tells me all I need to know about the man himself. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think all of a sudden if Liverpool come knocking, he gets rattled and he's like, yeah, I want to go. He's only just started the project. It's not like it was different for Celtic because he had already won the trophies. He's done the double the first season, then the treble the second season after. And then he was like, I want to test myself. I want to see if I'm really that good. I've been managing for like 20, 30 years. Do you know what I'm saying? My old school gene is vet. But I haven't been pushed at that level in Prem. And he said it, I like going to clubs that have problems and I like fixing them. That's my thing. Liverpool don't really have a problem. They're kind of walking into something that's already cooking, if that makes sense. So when I looked at that rumor, I kind of like, I didn't really believe it. I'll be real. I wasn't really pushed or convinced by it. But that's just me. Hey, I could be wrong. You can come tomorrow and be like, yeah, I'm off, lads. See ya.
I completely agree with you because, you know, it's true that Ange doesn't really stick around places too long. But what he does always do is get the job done. And he doesn't leave until he gets the job done. And that's what he's done at every single football club. But Dave, where do you sit with this?
Look, I think if you're Liverpool and you're looking at someone who came in and done, who can come in and do something very similar to what Jurgen Klopp did, where he sort of brought that club together, he brought the fans and the players together, a good brand of style of football, and all that sort of jazz. Postecoglou's your man, right? You look at what he's implementing at Tottenham over the first 6 months, the way Jurgen Klopp implemented himself at Liverpool. He's your man. He's your go-to if you want something like that. Look, I do think there's one general misconception about Ange Postecoglou that everyone thinks he's a rebuild manager. He ain't. He's a winner. He wins everywhere he goes. He wants to win trophies. If Liverpool come calling, being a boyhood club, Robbie Keane went, didn't he? Why wouldn't Ange Postecoglou and Robbie Keane had more of an affiliate to Tottenham Hotspur than what Ange Postecoglou did? And if Liverpool are serious and plus they're going for trophies, if Tottenham don't show that ambition in future windows to be able to provide him with what he needs to be able to go and win trophies, of course he'll be out here and on to the next team, just like every other manager has done at Tottenham Hotspur. However, I do think the saving grace is that Liverpool are a very sort of emotional club. So I do think they'll try a Xavi Alonso, a Steven Gerrard, maybe the assistant to Jurgen Klopp might get an opportunity. And I'd maybe think that they probably already have their succession plan. They've known about this for a while. I think they already know who they're going to go after personally. So I think that's probably our saving grace here. But further down the line, if that project doesn't work out, they will come knocking for Ange Postecoglou. I can tell you that now. And when you look at Postecoglou, he will leave. He said all the exact same things he's saying now at Tottenham, at Celtic. But at the end of the day, as soon as Tottenham came calling, a bigger club that could drive his ambition even further, he jumped at that opportunity and he left. And he'll do the exact same to Tottenham Hotspur. He does this everywhere he goes. Fans fall in love with him. That's why he comes with such a big following, such a big fan base behind him. But make no mistake about it, he will leave if the ambition is correct for him. He's a Liverpool fan, and if they throw more on the table in terms of going after trophies, that's where he'll go next. He is a winner. People make this misconception about him an awful lot. And the reason why I think there could be an opportunity for it down the line, it won't be this summer, but you look at the problems Arsenal had rebuilding after Wenger, the problems that Man United have rebuilding after Sir Alex Ferguson. Liverpool will go through the exact same trials and tribulations. And eventually, if Postecoglou keeps doing what he's doing here, which we all predict, give it another summer transfer window, we're probably knocking on the door next season. Eventually, they will come calling. So it's up to us to provide him with what he needs while he's here very, very quickly.
But, he does always get the job done in every club that he's at, David. But let's put this scenario. You say it won't happen this summer, but and you say Liverpool won't go for him this summer. But let's put this scenario saying that Liverpool make him their number one target this summer. Do you reckon he goes?
No, I don't think he'll walk out of the club after a year. Personally, I don't think he'll walk out after a year. I think he'll give this a bit of time. I think if he's a smart guy, he looks around at the economics around football nowadays, you know how much money the clubs have to spend. You look at Tottenham's financial position, it could very easily propel him into a position very, very quickly if it works out in our favour, where he can be at a club that can go on and hopefully win Premier League titles for a few years. Personally, I don't think he makes the jump this summer, no matter how hard Liverpool go after it. I think he's also a wise guy. Why would he want to jump straight into Klopp's seat? Because the next manager that goes in there is expected to do exactly what Jurgen Klopp done. He's a smart guy. He won't go this summer, but if they come calling further down the line, he will think about it.
Sim?
I completely agree with David. I think the thing with Ange, is obviously we've fallen in love with him after 7 months, and we all believe that hopefully this is a project that he's building for the long term and he's going to be here for many, many years. But the reality is, after such a short space of time, how well do we know Ange? It's like we fall in love with him, but how well do we really know Ange? So there's always like a little part of me is like, if that offer
Ange is like all of our dads. What do you mean? How well do we know him? How well do you know your dad?
How well do you really know him? No, he's like a stepdad who's only been here for a few months. You want to love him, but it's like, how well do you really know him? I think I'd love to think that after 1 year in charge of Spurs, having given him like the tools to really progress, and being in London, one of the biggest clubs in Europe right now, or the Premier League at least, earning top, somewhat, I think, in the top 10 revenues in Europe at the moment, especially in a time where FFP is becoming a big issue. I'd like to think he looks at Tottenham and sees the potential of what this club can become. It just needs to have someone like him at the helm, and the sky's the limit, and he can achieve all he wants here. And I do believe he thinks that. So I do think that if Liverpool did come calling in the summer, he would reject it. However, there is a tiny part of me that thinks, at every club, I don't think he's ever been there for longer than 2 years. I think he does seem to jump ship quite quickly when a bigger offer does come. And seeing as he is a boyhood Liverpool fan, would that be too difficult to turn down? Considering he doesn't know when that job, if it ever will, come up again. So if he sees it as a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, will he just feel like it's too good to turn down? I feel like no. I do think, if we were like a Brentford, or we were, West Ham, or a smaller team, I think maybe he would jump after a year. But I think being a big club like Tottenham, where we are hoping to be challenging for trophies, we are hoping to be in the Champions League, back in the Champions League next season as well. Looking at the potential of the club, looking at the players that we have as well, I think he looks at us and really fancies it. I think he looks at it and think, I can win something here. I actually think he believes that. So I don't think he's going to look at that and think, I'm going to jump ship after 1 year just because I'm going to go to my boyhood club with also a chance to compete for trophies. Well, I really believe he thinks he could compete for trophies here. If he was maybe at a team like Brighton or something, where he has a good chance of maybe qualifying for Europe, but is there ever really a realistic chance of challenging for big trophies? Like there's a big, and also the economics of the club, he's always going to have to sell his best players, all these kind of things. That's always going to be a reality at a club like that. I think he would much more consider a move to Liverpool in after a year. But I think at Tottenham, the way we're set up, the way our financials are right now, the way the size of the club is growing year on year, the quality of the playing staff at the moment, and you're adding Maddison there, you've got people like Son there. He's got quite a bit of say in terms of transfers. I think he sees too much potential here to jump ship after a year. I really believe that. Maybe down the line in 3 or 4 years' time, if something else was to come up again, maybe he'd consider it. But I don't think after 1 year, I don't care how hard Liverpool push. I just don't see him jumping ship. I just don't see it.
In terms of the Premier League, do you see Liverpool and potentially Man City the only teams he'll jump ship for?
In the future?
Yeah. Or do you reckon he could go to a Man United? I can't see. He won't go to an Arsenal, surely.
Right I don't see him jumping ship for Man United at the moment. I don't even know if he jumps ship for right now for Liverpool or City right now.
I'm not talking about right now. I'm just talking about later down the line if he is to jump ship. Would he go to other places in the Premier League?
Yeah, I think those are the only two clubs he would go to. I can't see him going to anyone else at the moment.
All right, well, let's finish off talking about the transfer window. 3 days to go until this window slams shut. We have brought two in Radu Dragushin and Timo Werner on loan. We've got out Eric Dyer, and who else did we get out?
A load of loan
Maurice,
players, Phillips.
And a load of loan
Perisic.
players. Perisic with his ACL. I mean, Ash, have we done enough this window, do you reckon?
Hey.
You know what? It's mad, isn't it? It's a techie one. I like the question. It's a good one. And I always say it depends on your expectation as a fan. I wasn't expecting too much to be done, but I was surprised with the whole Eric Dyer situation. That one caught me off guard. Werner wasn't expecting. Was he the type of signing that Spurs would do? Yes. You know, a freebie. That's what we do, you know. Low risk in terms of like wages and whatnot. Dragusin, we got that one over the line. We needed a centre back, and we actually pulled that one out the bag. I thought that was a massive coup, especially with Bayern Munich lurking around. They could have taken him at any point. I think the guy decided that, you know, he's going to stick. He's going to be loyal to his word. And I think Ange had a lot to do with that. I think he's got on the phone and he managed to convince the lad that, you know, he's going to get enough time here. But then we kind of pivot towards a certain Norwegian kid by the name of Nusa. Now, I know it's not done yet.
Gas levels decreasing as you're speaking, Ash.
No, please. Hey, right now. So I was like, you know, we'll talk about the whole winger situation. We finally linked with a player that can go on the outside, that can go on the inside, that can get his head up, has the through balls in them, blah, 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 albeit at a lower level. Because I'm like, what are we trying to be? Are we the team that wants players with potential? Are we doing a Brighton and Brentford? Are we doing a Brighton and Brentford? Are we doing that? Or are we buying players that are known? You know what I'm saying? We've never quite been the marquee, but we do spend money, if that makes sense. We spent money on Richarlison, we spent money on Brennan Johnson. But it's like, I don't know what Spurs' plan is. I thought if we're going to do the Brentford thing, then buy your nooses, buy the teams, the players that aren't quite known. I'm here for it. I thought that was the project, so I was excited for it. Now I'm not too sure what we're actually doing. Like, we're linked to now Gallagher. We're linked to Gallagher, and they're talking crazy money. But again, if Ange wants him, like, are the club looking to back him fully? Is that going to be one of those talking points come summer? Are we backing Ange because those are the players that he wants? Do you know what I'm saying? Are we going to miss out? So coming back to your question, the January thing, it's like, it's a bit of a meh. I'm not going to lie. I was excited, and now
we've done more than pretty much every club in the Premier League, though.
We have, but it's Højbjerg still here, bro. Huh? That's what it is. It leaves with that type of taste in your mouth. We're like, oh, if Højbjerg left, and I know it's a lot to ask for, and then we got a player in that was better. I don't want a player that matches his level. I want a player that can take us to the next level. Do you know what I'm trying to say? And my thing is, why can't we do a bit of both? Why can't we buy a player that is a project, that has that potential, that is like a Matoma that no one's heard of, and actually buy a top baller that everyone knows, and then all the teams are like, oh, shit. Look what Tottenham just bought. Oh my days, like, and all the fans are celebrating. You know, like when Van der Vaart signed, it was like a party. Like, everyone was excited. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's a proven play. I want that feeling as a fan again. I know it's January and people are saying, no, slow down because we need to save some of the money.
You never heard of Timo Werner before?
Ash, just go back in time 4 years and pretend we just signed Timo Werner.
I'll send you a YouTube compilation. You'll get excited. Don't worry.
I'm done with the ifs. Why not just get the brother that can do it now and everybody knows he could? And it might hurt, but at least you bought that player that is certified 100% is going to do the damn thing. That's what we want. That's what we want, fans. And we know that's going to help push us into that next. I don't want to be the nearly man all the time. I don't want to be the bridesmaid. I want to be the bride. You know what I'm trying to say? As wild as it sounds, I want us to kind of show that real ambition. I feel like it's fake love right now. That's what we're doing. So why can't we have both? Why can't we have the money, the FFP, the 400 million spare or whatever? We sold Kane. There's like, you know what I'm saying? I think that's why some of our signings, we're critiquing them so much, because we're like, right, we sold a big boy Kane and we're replacing it with duds. Do you know what I mean? But if you had something else to go with it, then at least the fans would be like, all right, at least they're trying. At least the club, the board, whatever you want to call it, at least they're trying. Do you know what I'm saying? But we just don't feel the same love. It's just not, and that's why I'm like, this January, it's like Spurs. This is what Spurs would do to you. Deadline day, you're gonna be waiting 10:59, like Santa's coming down the chimney. You're waiting for that present. It gets to 11 o'clock, February the 1st, and nothing's come through the door. You're deflated. That is.
You'll get a contract renewal.
That's what I'm saying. So I'm like, brother, like, the pain is like, allow us, isn't it? Like, just give us something that we can live for, get excited for, lift the fan base, you know. Andrew's doing an amazing job, by the way. So that's what we've got at the moment. He's been our best signing, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
It would be nice if he was complimented with the actual tools to do his job. And that's why I'm thinking at the moment, yeah, Højbjerg wants to stay. I don't know I don't know about this window. I know we got rid of Dyer, but it's like 6.5, man. I don't know.
6.5. Do you reckon any more business can be done before the end of the window?
I don't think so. I'm a non-believer. But I'm just being honest. Like, I just don't think, and I'm saying it because I want to be proved wrong. You know, like, everyone was gassed about Man City. Yeah, we're gonna do Man City. Yeah, we're gonna do Man City. I was like, oh, let's do this. You know what? I'm trying to do the opposite. I'm trying to say this window is not quite it. I'm hoping that, you know, it gets better. But bro, I don't know. I don't think so, man. Højbjerg says he wants to stay, so I think he might be able to help us this season, you know, with some vital through balls and goals.
It's true. Well, Harry Winks back. Is that what you want? No, I think you're 100%. You're 100% right in what you're saying. You know, when Spurs fans get gassed, it always gets thrown back in our face. I mean, me and Sim were so excited for this Man City game. The first thing I said to him when he picked me up in the car was, "You know exactly what happens when we get that excited," and that's what happened on the football pitch on the weekend. But David, you said we haven't done enough before. What more would you like to see?
Look, I think coming into this window, we had a golden opportunity to try and maybe flex our muscles a little bit this January. Forget about what other clubs are doing. Let's focus on the opportunities that we had and stuff like that. I just feel like we haven't done enough in certain areas. I think centre-back, I mean, I'm not going to have to sit here and complain about that anymore, which I suppose we are Tottenham TV fans are very happy about, because I've been doing that for about 4 years now.
Dave, I heard you had a whole week party for Eric Dyer's evacuation.
Oh, look, you know, I did. I had to go quiet for I couldn't go on camera, you know, I was too busy celebrating it. By the way, I mean, I know it's petty of me, but as a football fan, as people know, I absolutely love Tottenham till its core. I was absolutely delighted we got one over on them on this window. I know it doesn't make up for the fact that they took Kane, but just the fact that we managed to sell them a dud is absolutely brilliant. I love that sort of pettiness. I feel like I've got one back on them. But look, I think across the back line, I think we're okay. Look, I hazard a guess now that Højbjerg's staying. I don't think you'll see a centre midfielder signing sort of come in here. I think the hopes was you'd be able to maybe flog a Lo Celso or a Højbjerg, and then you'd bring one in here. That doesn't look like it's going to happen. For me, I would like to see us, if there's an option coming up late in the window in the attacking areas, maybe a right winger, with Son coming back, I would like to see us maybe pull the trigger on it, because I do think that could be the difference between us maybe making top 4 or not, or even trying to get ourselves into try and push the top 2 in terms of a title challenge. I think it could really make a difference. Look, I feel a bit let down, to be honest with you, because I think initially we got off to a very good start. You're like, here we go, Tottenham attacking the window with a bit of purpose. You know, you look at all the players gone out. There's about 300,000-400,000 worth of wages freed up. Lloris 110, Dyer 80, Perisic 170. We've got a lot of high earners off, and you're looking at it going, could we? Is there a big signing coming in before the end of the window? The opportunity's there. And I know everyone's sort of looking at it saying, hold back to the summer. Everyone's in financial troubles. You know, we can take advantage there. But 6 months is a long time for teams to be able to work out different ways around the rules, circumvent the rules, and generate more cash so that they can move in the summer. I'm now looking at, and it's probably a bit late that I'm probably saying this, but I'm now looking at it going, well, with the fact that everyone's so quiet this window, was this window the window that we should have went and said 70 million, we're taking them 7? Because clubs would have had no option but to accept that in order to sort of, get their accounts in order and stuff like that. So I think maybe we've probably missed out on an opportunity this January. I think, like I said, in terms of outgoings, and I'm very happy with, but in terms of incomings, I just feel like maybe we've missed an opportunity this window that might or might not be there in the summer. But 6 months is a long time for clubs to be able to get their way around it and balance their books so that they can move and stuff like that. So, look, I think it's been an okay window. I'm not going to sit here and I'm not going to slate it, but I'm not going to sit here and I'm not going to, praise it either. I think it's just been sort of okay. What I will say is the amount of outgoings that we've had and the wages we've offloaded, it does allow us to move very early in the summer and attack that without having to sort of sell players first. So we'll wait and see how it goes. But yeah, I'd like another 4 player in here before the end of the window. But I do want to say, because I know some people are going to say, Dave, being very negative today. Look, the Man City result has affected me a lot, first of all. And I am actually very happy with the business that Tottenham have done over the last few years in terms of incomings, outgoings, and stuff like that. But I just want it done a bit quicker. I'm sick of always having to do it the slow way, the sort of, just the slow way. I'm absolutely sick of it. I just want to sort of, bam, there you are, let's get it done. Let's go with a bit of gusto about it. But it looks like we'll probably have to wait till the summer. So we'll wait and see what happens then. But
Dave, three days left, right? All the wages that you mentioned are off the book. We've got one spot that's been freed up for a foreign player, for a non-homegrown player to come in. Do you not think that we can do maybe just one more surprise signing before the end of the window?
Look, we can sign as many players as we want before the end of the window. We're in a position financially to be able to do it in terms of wages. We're in a great position to be able to do it and really sort of make a Raphael van der Vaart signing, if you'd like, and bring him in here before January. And look, the optimistic side of me, because me personally, I prefer to be on that side, half sort of glass full sort of guy. I'm never going to give up hope. I'm always going to cling on. I'll be there 30 seconds to go, looking at Sky, waiting for that breaking. Could it happen?
It's coming, it's coming.
Yeah. However, I'm not quite so sure it's going to happen. I think we might look at getting a couple more players maybe out. Brian Hill, what does his future hold? The fact that he didn't come off the bench against Man City, even though we didn't create any chances, is probably tells you everything you need to know there. So you might see a couple of outgoings, a couple of loans for the under-21s. We'll definitely do a contract renewal. We always do one of them deadline day. I wake up every time in the morning, boom, so-and-so signed a new contract. You're like, well, everyone's gone home now for the evening, wrapped up. Look, we'll wait and see what happens. Personally, I wouldn't sit there and hold out hope, but yeah, I know I will be no matter what I say.
What's your score out of 10 for the transfer window? Ash, would you say 6.5, 6?
6, more than 6, yeah.
David?
Yeah, I think when I weigh it up in terms of incomings and outgoings, I think you're probably looking at around a 6, but I don't think it'd be any more than that personally.
I mean, I never really thought that we were going to do much in this window. I thought we did something that we've never done before and signed players in the first week of January transfer window, and that was 2. Got on Timo Werner, Radu Dragushin. I think that since Ange Postecoglou has come in, the first remit was to sort out that defence. We've done that now. We've got top quality defenders at this football club. The fullbacks are looking really good with Destiny and Pedro Porro. We've got amazing options in midfield, albeit Pierre-Emile Højbjerg has to be upgraded. It's just that front line to get a real Ange Postecoglou team. And I never thought we would get, the best team, the perfect team in the space of 6 months under Ange Postecoglou. So I think we're going really well, to be honest. I don't have too many complaints. Yeah, maybe we could get one more in the front line, but I think we're kind of on schedule to where we should be right now, and I'm happy with the way Spurs are going. And everyone's always going to want more. That's just the natural kind of reaction to things. So I'm not disappointed at all, to be honest. I'm really happy with the way things are going. I really am. And now the defense is sorted out, now we can just focus on that attack. And whether that comes in the last 3 days, which I highly doubt, or in the summer, I'm not too bothered either way. I think that we're playing well this season. I think when Sonny comes back, when Sarr comes back, you'll see a much different Tottenham second half of the season with Bissouma as well. So, look, I think we got to ride out this last 6 months, last half of the season with the players that we do have. Then Ange Postecoglou will have an even better idea who he wants in the summer transfer window, and we can attack that with full force. So I'm actually really happy with the way things have gone so far. What's your take?
I'm pretty content with it. I think we've had a pretty good window. I think considering the financial restrictions that a lot of clubs are facing, and you clearly see a lot of clubs are struggling to even get any players through the door. The fact we've got 2 in is positive. 2 positions as well that we definitely needed. So that's all. I'm delighted with getting Dragoos in. I'm really happy with the centre-back situation now. I think we've got good depth there, good quality. Really happy with that. That's really good. 1-1. I think, again, it's one I understood. It's one I think makes sense. I wouldn't say it's one I'm overly delighted with, but I think it's one that I can see why you've done it. Considering you look at our forward options right now, we actually have a lot of options. You know, you've got Solomon and Werner off the left. You've got Son, Richarlison up front. You've got Kulusevski, Brennan Johnson on the right. You've still got players like Brian Hill knocking around as well.
With Werner, though, like, when Son comes back into the team, how much is Werner actually going to start, though?
We'll see.
You know what I mean?
We'll see.
He's a great option to have off the bench. I mean, what we've been asking for all season, have options off the bench. We've had no options whatsoever for the whole season.
He's versatile. He can play across the front three. So I do expect him to start quite a lot of games, even after Son is back. So exactly, gives us an option. Is it smart to go and spend, 100 million or 80 million on a forward player in January when you're overpaying? Unless it's someone like, a Nico Williams, where it's pretty certain that this guy is going to come in and massively improve you. There's not a lot of those players around that are dead certs. It's very difficult. That's why I can see us. That's why we are going for someone like a Nusa, someone with a lot of potential, can come in potentially next season and be ready to improve us. But right now, obviously, he's still very young, got a lot of potential. But I think those are the kind of deals we're looking at. In terms of what I want to point to something that Ash was saying, he was saying he doesn't know what Tottenham want to be. Do they want to be a Brighton, Brentford, where they get a potential and sell them on, or are we buying the ready-made? See, what I think is we're somewhere in between. I think we want to be a Brighton and Brentford in terms of how we sign players, but the reason why Brighton and Brentford have their model is, buying these players very young with high potential and selling them on for big fees is because they don't have the revenue streams that we have. So they have to sell them on to gain money so they can keep reinvesting. That is their model. Tottenham are very different. We don't need to sell to buy in terms of, I know we do, we have been, but we
tell that to Daniel Levy.
But we have a lot of revenue streams. We've got we got the highest match day revenue, I think, in the league now, one or second to maybe Man United. In terms of revenues overall, we have we're in the top 8 in Europe. We're very, very. We have a lot of revenue streams. We don't have to sell players to get our revenue. So when we sign these young players with potential, I don't think the intention is to build them up so we sell them on. I think the intention is to build them up so we can actually use them, so they actually be in our first team and actually be part of the team in the long term. And if they do want to move eventually, okay, we can sell, but the goal isn't to sell. For Brentford and Brighton, that is their goal. The goal is to sell them so they can continue to reinvest in the team and keep everything functioning. So for Tottenham, I think I think if we can get a ready-made player for a reasonable price, we'll do it. But I don't think we're going to overpay for players. That's the thing. We're not going to. Apart from, obviously, you can argue we're overpaid for Brendan Johnson, but I don't think that's Richarlison. But that isn't the goal. I don't think the goal is to overpay for players. I think we want to find value in the market, and I think we want to buy players with high potential, and so they turn into superstars. But not to sell them, to use them, to be part of our team in the long term. That is the goal. And I don't mind that, as long as we're doing smart business, which we have been doing. Van de Ven, Udogie, Sarr. I don't think the goal is to sell these players. I think the goal is to have them as part of our team. So that's how I see what we're trying to be, to be honest.
I didn't mean in terms of sorry, David. I didn't mean in terms of selling. I do agree with you. I meant are we trying to be a Brighton in terms of having a Matoma? Do you know what I'm trying to say? Because I'm not saying they're looking to sell Matoma. That's a player they've obviously kept. I mean, in terms of identifying top talent and then just having them so we don't have to spend extreme amounts of money to get.
I think that's what we want to do. I do think that's what in general. I think that's like the holy grail. But it's very difficult to do that, isn't it? So sometimes you have to go for a more established player just for if you know, just so you have certainty. But we'll only go for that established player if they're for a reasonable price, I think, or for a price that I think we can afford. We're not going to overpay for them.
Yes, so that's the reason why I was a bit like, what we doing? Because we're not going for Nusa. It's like a few million. And I mean, obviously they're saying, the player's choosing for game time, but I'm not too convinced about that. I think Ange could have convinced him, like, you're going to definitely get game time here. Don't worry about that. But I don't know. It depends what your thoughts are on the actual personal development.
I think it's smart from Nusa to guarantee himself minutes in the Premier League week in, week out for Brentford, where, there's not as much competition for places than there is at Tottenham. He'll be fighting Heung-min Son on that left wing week in, week out, He's not going to get as much. It's just the reality. Nowhere near as much game time as Tottenham, and he's going to get at Brentford. The kid is 18 years of age. In 4 years, he's going to get a major money move probably if he lives up to his reputation to anywhere he wants in the world.
Isn't it? If that's the case, are we not now then on to the next one? If that's the case,
we gotta be. We gotta be.
We have to be. But just in terms of something that the conversation you guys were having there. About sort of us going after youngsters and looking to integrate them, in the future. I do think 100% there's an element to that. But I do think we have to be careful. I do think we're at the point where we have to go out and get that one or two players, a bit like what Liverpool done, where they brought in Van Dijk, Alisson, boom, there you go, and really sort of pushed them on, really gave them that new mentality, that sort of new drive, and in the big games, and eventually helped them get over the line. I think we're at that point because right now what we're doing is, whether we like it or not as Spurs fans, a lot of the players that we sign see Tottenham as a stepping stone. You come here, perform, you're automatically going to a Man City, a Liverpool, or Real Madrid or something like that. A lot of clubs see Tottenham as a stepping stone. And with us bringing in these youngsters, if we don't then go on to push on and win something, what's going to happen is, as soon as Real Madrid need a centre-back or Man City need somebody, they'll come straight to Tottenham and look to take an Edozie, a Porro, Romero, Van de Ven, someone like that, and they'll be out of here. But the good thing is we've got a succession plan like a Brighton or Brentford because we've got the next guy in. However, we have to be able to stop them players from leaving in the first place, and we have to be able to sprinkle it with talent to be able to get over the line first, keep them, and then them youngsters are the next wave coming through to be able to sustain that going forward. If we don't do that, all we're actually doing is realistically what I'm saying is sitting there planning that Man City or Real Madrid will come for an Edozie in the future, and then we don't have to go out and panic and spend 60, 70 million. We'll just slot the next guy in. But we cannot be that selling club anymore. We have to stop that. To take the next step, we have to then sprinkle it with talent, get over the line, and then give these youngsters that time to be able to develop and get themselves ready to come in and be the next wave. Because if not, we're only making problems off our own. Because once an Edozie does go, everyone will be straight away turning around going, we should have spent a bit of money to get us over the line so that we wouldn't have to lose an Edozie. So, although I do agree with them, we do have to be careful. I do think there has to be a bit of balance with it. We do have to make that one or two signings. There you are. Go and get yourselves over the line.
But you look at it,
we are that selling club anymore.
Well, we sold Harry Kane for 100 million in the summer. Before that was Kyle Walker.
Exactly, Kyle Walker was just 6 years ago.
Kyle Walker, Harry Kane. I mean, when you look at history, I mean, we were a selling club. I don't think we are that same club that we were. I completely agree. But these last 5 years have been so bad. That's why Harry Kane had to go. I don't think Harry Kane ever wanted to leave this football club, but he felt like he had to leave because the ambition was poor. I think if Harry Kane was still at this football club right now, I think he signs a contract at the end of this season.
No, 100%. But that's Harry Kane, who came through the academy, who has an affiliate with Tottenham Hotspur. The rest of these players that we're out there praising right now, they don't. We've bought them from other clubs. They don't have that attachment to Tottenham. And players that haven't had that attachment in the past, even players that have had that attachment, have eventually jumped because they've been fed up with not being able to get over the line. And we could very easily end up falling into that same trap unless we
yeah, exactly.
Who jumped?
I'm thinking who's jumped, because since like the Berbatovs, the Keanes and all that, I mean, we haven't had players that have consistently jumped ship.
Because we haven't had players to be able to sell to jump ship. You know, we
We had
jump
Dyer,
ship.
Rose,
When he was there,
Eric Dyer.
Come on.
No, but they were interested.
on.
What I'm talking about is there were clubs interested in them, and they didn't jump ship.
What we've got now is we've got a load of players at a certain level that are just below world class. If they develop, they'll go on. What we've had in recent years is a Matt Doherty, Aurier, Dyer, people like that who were never, ever going to be able to make that jump. That's why we've had such problems being able to offload them, because even the crap teams haven't really wanted them. But with the talent of players we've got now, eventually they will make that jump. And we've got so many of them that so many teams around Europe would like to be able to push themselves on further. And eventually they will make that jump if we don't sprinkle it with that couple of signings to be able to push us over the edge. You can shoot me now, but in a couple of years' time, you'll all be remembering what I said.
No, I agree with Dave. That's what I said at the start. Why can't we do both? Sprinkle. As you were saying before, David, I agree with you. Balance. Get the potential. And then ones that are actually, because if we've got the piece, if you've got the money and we've got the leg room to do it and actually buy like a weldie that everyone can say, yes, we are actually showing ambition now, then why not? I think it was a great business, by the way, by the club to get your doggy on that long-term deal. And do you know what I'm saying? But remember, guys, money does talk. I don't care what anyone says. When right price comes over and these agents, they're different breed, they're different level these days. If the agent's convinced, the players convinced and they want the move, and the club put enough money down, players can get got out if they're good enough. And we do have a pool of players right now, as David was saying, that are talented. Do you know what I mean? That Real Madrid will look at your doggy or a Sarr or, you know what I'm saying? One of those type of players and say, look, here's 70 million. Do you know what I'm saying? Offer the player X amount of wages. You're going to be paid for the best team in the world. Like, what you saying? Do you know what I mean? And Levy's got to make a decision. Do I turn down the 70 mil or the 100 mil, whatever it is, for this player? Like, come on. Like, this is football. Every player has his price. But we do need to, like, I think, match it and show these players that, yeah, there is. We don't have to go and Google a player like Danny Rose was saying back in the day. You know what I mean? I have to go on YouTube and figure out who this guy is. We need a player that everyone knows now. And but I do hear what Sim's saying. I know, I do get it. Like with the players that have potential, it's like a mixed mash because we got some players that were bought in the Premiership, Richarlison being one, Brendan Johnson being another. But again, Maddison, like we don't want any question marks. We want to play like that. Yeah, that guy is quality. Bring him. Add it to the ones that were like, oh, we didn't know about that player. Look, he's got Vicario. We didn't know about. You know what I'm saying? Your doggy was question mark. But look how well they've turned out. But like, let's marry that now with someone that has got that level and has had that experience at that top level that can just jump into our team and take us to the level.
Yeah, but in January, you're paying double for those kind of players.
Well, in January, I'm talking about long term now. I'm just saying,
okay.
I'm talking about long term because that's how it feels. The trajectory of the club has been going in the last few seasons, like last 3 or 4 seasons. We haven't gone that extra step to get that, like, you know, well beater in. But yeah, in January, that's what I'm saying. In January, I'm like, look, it is what it is, bro. Like,
I think we're so close to being there, though, aren't we? We're so close to being there. Sprinkle a few more big talents in the front line. Get a big replacement for Højbjerg, and we're going to be ready to fight for the title next season.
Yeah. Look, we're not far away, and this is why I'm saying it. I know a lot of people say it's negative, but I'm not. I'm sort of saying it because we're not that far away, and in order to make that next jump, that's what has to happen. You know, you have to sprinkle it with that bit of talent. Now, I'm not sitting here demanding it this January. Very unlikely it's going to happen. But come the summer, we'll know exactly what the ambition is. Do they go and do that? Do they not? So we'll wait and see then.
Absolutely. But I think that is all we have time for today. Big up to Ashmatic, big up for David, big up to you guys in the chat as well. Thank you all for joining us today. Ash, let the people know where they can find you, my friend.
You can find me at Southview Coys, man. And once again, thanks for having me on, guys. Big up to you guys in the chat for making the show. People at home viewing in, listeners as well. Yeah, my next show is tomorrow. I'll do like basically like last 3 days, we just look at a few players to say like, could we? Do you know what I mean? I like to dream a lot. I'm a bit of a dreamer. Like,
who's on the agenda, Ash? Who's on the agenda?
Definitely gonna get inverts. No, I'm joking now. You know what? Saying that, I might look at Kimmich. I'm not gonna lie. I know it's not gonna happen. Let a boy dream, innit? Allow me, innit? Let a boy dream. There's gonna be a few other players. Anderson being one.
Mbappe's got 6 months left on his deal. Check him out.
Bro. But yeah, I'm gonna look at a few players that we actually are linked with, and we're gonna do like a little video analysis of them. But yeah, man, guys, tune in.
David, on the Irish Hotspur, everyone knows where to go, but what's coming up on the Irish Hotspur this week?
Well, tomorrow, every Monday and Tuesday, I sort of drop a loan report after weekend on how players get on. So check that out. And then tomorrow I'll be dropping one about all the academy news over the last week and bringing it to you. So check that out. And then in terms of going forward after that, I'll be watching the under-21 in Cup action tomorrow night as well. So come and join me for that. Apart from that, your boy will just be vibing, chilling out, and doing what he wants to do. So if you wanna get with that, come over and subscribe.
Big Ashley Phillips report coming tomorrow, yeah?
Look, Ashley Phillips, I think he's going to be tremendous for Tottenham going forward in the future. Just at Plymouth, just work on his sort of on the ball ability, get a bit more consistent with that. We've got a star on our hands.
Yeah, you think it's a green screen behind it's a Plymouth flag.
Green Army. But yeah, thank you all so much for coming on today. We'll see you all very soon. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, come on, you Spurs.
Yeah.